The left have been gunning for David Starkey for decades, and this time they may actually have got him. But the attacks from them are based as much as who Starkey is as for what he actually says. As a white man who is blatantly unapologetic about being a white man and doesn't care who he offends, that's basically a crime in and of itself in the modern day. Starkey must have set some kind of record for the speed at which he was condemned. After last week's interview with Darren Grimes, it wasn't even 24 hours after he was universally condemned, fired from basically everything it could be, his publisher HarperCollins, his university Cambridge, Fitzwilliam College, the Mary Rose Museum, and even Grimes himself wasn't loath to throw Starkey under the bus, a hero he'd had, which was very sad to see. So what exactly is the issue with what David Starkey said? And a lot of people obviously haven't even watched the interview. It's worth watching. I've watched it twice, once before and certainly once after the furore kicked off. There seem to be two issues that people are upset about. So let's take them in turn. The first issue is that Starkey basically said slavery did not equate to genocide. I'd have to say, as a non-historian, I'd have to agree with him. Slavery is surely about getting as many people working for you for as little as possible, working them to the bone, and it's a business. So killing off your business is probably not a good way to go. David Starkey, on the other hand, is perhaps Britain's most eminent historian, and surely he's entitled to his opinion, even if you want to disagree. I don't see no problem there. The problem Starkey's got is his use of the term damn blacks, and this has been circulating on social media and looks pretty bad. But again, I had no problem with this when I watched the interview, as did Darren Grimes, because it's very clear from the context that Starkey uses how and exactly he means it. He's using the term not in the pejorative sense that so many people have been want to jump on. He's using it in the term of emphasis, as damn is often used, like damn fine day. He's refuting the idea of genocide by saying there are so many black people. Now, Starkey used the term, and I should make a few concessions in terms of David Starkey. First of all, he is a man of his time, and the language he uses is also definitely of his time, and Starkey clearly makes no effort whatsoever to be politically correct. That's his appeal. It's one of the main reasons people like him. He shoots from the hip and tells it exactly as he thinks. But of course, in this case, it's got him into hot water. The second thing with Starkey, again, I would make a concession. I wouldn't go so far as to call him a provocateur, which a lot of people would, but he is certainly a man who knows the value of being considered such. I think he once said in an interview that being considered Britain's rudest man was worth 100 grand a year to him. So he knows he walks the line. Now, here's the issue. You could be offended about, I really can't see any reason to be offended by genocide any more than everyone's offended by everything these days. But there could be genuinely people offended by the use of the term damn blacks. Here's the problem. Be offended, by all means, no problem. But if you want to literally crucify the guy and destroy his entire life and his body of work, I think you've got a couple of questions to answer yourself. The first question is surely that in that interview, for the first 10-15 minutes, as far as I'm aware, he attacked many groups. That's what Starkey does. He says what he thinks. He attacked the white working class, thick white school children, entitled white women. He is much ruder. If you want to go back and watch it, he's much ruder than he is about black people, even in that off-the-cuff statement as it's been snipped on social media. You might want to ask yourself why you and no one else cares about that. Why is there no value in defending the white groups that he attacked? Secondly, and perhaps more pertinently, the blatant double standard that we have now, that is just being, the canon of which has been added to every day. Why is it that we've got free speech for any non-white person or group that basically wants to attack white people, but white people like David Starkey have no recourse to free speech? A couple of examples. Dr. Gopal at Cambridge University, who basically wants to abolish whiteness, who thinks white lives don't matter and relishes the idea of kneecapping white people. That gets her a promotion, no problem, that's definitely free speech. Black Lives Matter, the co-founder, I think it was, that considers white skin is a genetic defect and white people should be exterminated by blacks. No problem whatsoever. Let's take a knee for that. Munro Bergdorf, that's a famous model who thinks the white people are all racist and whiteness is the biggest cancer on the face of the earth. I can't remember exactly how she said it. No problem. Fired initially because that was a little bit problematic. Rehired when L'Oreal saw which way the wind and the virtual signalling was blowing. You want to question yourself if you don't think that's double standards problematic, because we've got to the stage where anyone who's blatantly attacking white people is being praised or promoted, and anyone saying the most innocuous things, it's okay to be white, white lives matter, are being subject to police investigations, haven't got time to actually investigate any real crime, and are considered Nazi hate speech. So that's another question for you. Another worrying thing is the speed and the extent of which David Starkey has been denounced. This must be some kind of world record. Do you really consider, even if you think David Starkey is the most racist person in the world, that his entire body of work and his livelihood deserve to be shut down because he aired views that obviously many people share, because we're all racist, certainly all white people are racist? You're okay with that? You think that's good? And finally, perhaps most importantly, even if David Starkey is a fully paid up Klansman, if he's the most racist person in the history of the universe, so what? Why does that bother you when you, of course, have no racist bone in your body? And as I've already said, every white person is implicitly racist by the fact of what they do. If they speak out against racism, they're a saviour. If they say nothing, they're complicit and they're committing violence just by going along with it. How can it be a surprise then that David Starkey is racist? We knew that going in. Another issue we've got is for the people that are so upset about what David Starkey has done and want him crucified. What's your solution? We're in Britain. It's an 80% white country where you're basically writing off at least 80% of the population. Whiteness, to all intents and purposes, by the majority of commentators, it seems, and academics and media, is nothing more than a disease. What do you want to do about that? Are you going to cancel everybody who's white? Are we going to have some kind of two-tier system whereby free speech for everyone who's not white and whites just have to suck it up? Or are we going to send all the white people off to some kind of racist Botany Bay like we did 250 years ago with our convicts? As Starkey said at the end of the interview, we've got to dare to speak out. They think they can silence us. They think they can shut us up. He's not far off the mark, is he?